My disability caught your eyes before my abilities. And that is a problem. How do I know this? Because this happens with me all the time. When I was coming to Hyderabad, here at the airport, a fellow passenger walked up to me and said, "Sir, you are an inspiration. You are flying alone in spite of being in a wheelchair." Why do I become an inspiration just for flying alone? Or for driving a car, or for that matter, playing cricket sitting in a wheelchair? My flying alone has nothing to do with my abilities. It is accessibility at the airport, the trained staff of the airline, and the rule of law, which allows people like me to fly alone by air. But I become an inspiration. Why? Because it is not normal in India for a person sitting in wheelchair to do these things. It is not normal for a child with disability to go to a normal school. It is not normal for a person with disability to go to a restaurant, a pub, or a cinema hall. A person with disability is not normal in India. And mind you, it's not my inability to walk which is barrier in my life. I'm an entrepreneur. I can drive my car. I've driven to Ladakh alone. I can travel alone. I've traveled abroad alone quite a few times. I've represented my country in wheelchair cricket. And I also have a wife and a kid. I'm just like you. It's society's disability which is barrier in my full participation in day-to-day life. Society's inability to interact with us. Society's lack of intent to understand the problems of persons with disability and adapt accordingly. Society's mindset is disabled. It's crippled with ignorance-induced apathy. And to hide its guilt, society keeps giving us different names, differently abled, specially abled and whatnot. How am I differently abled? What special past do I have? If we are inspired by somebody, we want to change place with them. We want to be like them. Who in the world will want to be like me or in my place? I would like you to watch a small video which clearly shows the special past we have which help us to negotiate the barriers of day-to-day life. This is one of the railway stations in Uttar Pradesh. A public is conveniently oblivious to presence of a wheelchair users. There are no signboards. The ramps are there but not properly maintained. And there are people who are ready to encroach every possible place. No accessibility at all. No water points. No accessible washrooms. It's our struggle, our daily struggle. And then boarding the train. How difficult it is to put a ramp there and widen that door for the wheelchair user. Just one coach. But that intent is not there. It's our everyday story at bus stops, at railway stations, and sometimes even at the airports. Why we should focus on accessibility? But before that, we should know what accessibility is. I'm sure a lot of us here cannot understand this. Does that make us disabled? No, the slide is disabled because this is in a language which is not known by many of us. But today, in the world of technology, with just a click, this can be translated into any language of our choice, and it becomes accessible. Accessibility means that people can do what they need to do in a similar amount of time and effort at someone that does not have a disability. It means that people are empowered, they are independent, and will not be frustrated by something that is poorly designed or implemented. Disability arises because of barriers in the society and not by the impairment or differences of the people. It can be physical, like unavailability of accessible washroom in a building, or it can be because of mental attitude towards persons with disability, like persons with disability can't do something. As per census of 2011, 2.11% of our population is disabled. This figure itself is a problem because as per WHO estimates of 2013, almost 15% of world population is disabled. In US, this figure goes to almost 20%. So what good we have done for this number to be so low here, except keeping a lot of people out of the definition of disability. Even if we generously estimate almost 10% of Indian population is disabled, that comes to close to 13.5 crore people. And if we count two of their family members, almost 40 crore people or 30% of Indian population is directly or indirectly affected by some or the other disability. 40 crore people are not allowed to participate in the exercise of nation building. I was having this discussion with a colleague one day. He was of the opinion that this figure of 2.11% might be correct because in US and Europe, he has regularly seen people roaming around freely in parks, on footpaths, at tourist places. Which footpaths in India are accessible for persons with disability? Footpaths, in fact, here are not accessible for normal people. And if they are accessible, there are people who are ready to encroach them. Tourist places. Have you seen a tourist place accessible for persons with disability? If these places are not accessible, how do you expect to see persons with disability roaming around freely at these places? So where are they? They are in their homes, locked, afraid to move out, dependent on their families for everything. Imagine the plight of parents who need to earn extra just to help their kid live in this world. An employed disabled has to earn more than others to survive in this cruel world. I need to buy my accessibility. Sometimes even the five-star hotels are not accessible. I pay same as others, but don't get to use all the facilities. Sometimes even the washroom of my room is not accessible. Bathing is a luxury for me when I'm out of my home. 40 crore people in this country are not able to go on holidays because no holiday destination is accessible. I know most of these people come from poor socioeconomic background, but even if we estimate 10% of this, 4 crore people book a room for rupees 500 for a day. It comes to 1,000 crore rupees of revenue loss. Mind you, total budget of Department of Disability Affairs of Government of India for 22-23 is just over 2,000 crore rupees. And this is just one small part of one business, tourism. I'm very active. My average daily travel is almost 200 plus kilometers. I don't remember when I last time went for a movie because I don't want to go there and sit in first row looking at the sky and then come back with a sore neck. Imagine the plight of a person with vision disability negotiating his way from his home to office and back. A wheelchair user sitting in his office for 8 hours without any access to proper washroom. And then imagine a tetraplegic, somebody who's paralyzed below neck. What life he must be having in this country. Do we have any consideration for these people while designing our buildings, our spaces, our products, our services? No. Barrier-free environment is basic necessity. It's a human right. It's not a matter of choice or option. All of this and more was mandated in Persons with Disability Act 1995. Yes, we had an act in 1905, but what was in paper remained in paper for good 21 years, till a new and improved act was passed in 2016, Rights for Persons with Disability Act. We have definitely seen some changes happening in last 6 years. But it's not good enough. The pace is not good. We are building highways almost at the rate of 60 kilometers per day, but forget to make accessible washroom at rest areas, and still charge toll from everybody, including the disabled. Everybody has limitations, and everybody is vulnerable to more limitations. And throughout the years, we'll see change in this limitation through aging process, maybe illness or accidents. An effort to minimize or eliminate these limitations should be supported by one and all. Now the question comes how? Sensitization. Sensitizing the society is the responsibility of all. Government, corporates, education institutes, hospitals, and even housing society should undertake this task to regularly conduct sensitization exercises for their people. When I started wheelchair cricket, my aim was just to get people together, to get them out of their bed, out of their homes into the playing fields. But with time, I realized that apart from the normal benefits of playing a sport, it had much more. Not only for people who are playing the sport, but also for people who are watching. We got the opportunity to show our abilities to the world. And silently, it was also sensitizing the society towards persons with disability. With more matches, more voluntary support poured in, but more importantly, our players garnered much deserved respect, and that changed their life. Investing in education for children with disabilities is another good option. And if it is inclusive, it sensitizes the society from the very beginning. Our children will not get into a shock seeing a wheelchair user entering a party. I sometimes have difficulty explaining them that this is not a pram. I can't get off this. This is my body. Over the year, the world has realized that there need not be exclusive design effort for persons with disability. One proper design which suits all is enough. Like a door wide enough for the passage of a wheelchair or a crutch user is good for all. A ramp not only benefits a wheelchair user, but also our senior citizens or somebody with a temporary disability. We should focus on designing universally. Universal design means there is no difference between people. It integrates and does not differentiate. We did not make this world for everyone. It is not a level playing field. But today, we are in time and space where a lot can be done for the persons with disability through technology and other resources. Today, now, we should move away from this idea of differently able meaning something less than something. In fact, we are all differently able. Everybody has different set of abilities and limitations. Nobody is perfect. India is in a transition state. From the average life expectancy of 32 years in 1947, today it is 70. Government push to medical infra during COVID-19 has been witnessed by one and all. Trains are touching speed of 180 kilometers. Bullet trains are coming to India. Our highways are world class. World is today realizing us as a fulcrum point. Global powers want to do business with us. We have reached Mars. But while all this is happening somewhere, we have been forgotten. I want to do everything which I was able to do before the accident. But for these little accessibility issues, we don't want your pity. We want opportunities. We don't want your pension. We want jobs. We don't want to be dependent on you. We want freedom of mobility and accessible environment. We don't want paternalism. We want empowerment. We don't want any special status. We want social inclusion. And we don't want an ignorant society. We want a sensitized society which is the responsibility of all. We don't want to be just consumers. We want to become a contributor. We should stop discussing disability now and discuss accessibility solutions. And we should realize that this is not only our problem, it is society's problem. And last but not the least, we don't want to be your inspiration. We want to be normal. Wheelchair users, persons with vision disability, autism, or any kind of disability sitting normally in this room and listening to you sharing your story. Why can't we build an inclusive society? Is it possible? Yes, it is. Only if you stop being a bystander and become a change maker in whatever little way possible. Accessibility, inclusion, acceptance, and respect is the only way forward for this country if we want to see us in the league of developed nations. I have adapted myself in this chair, in this life, and I'm doing well. And now it is your turn to rise and adapt to live with us because we are not going anywhere. Thank you.